Hey y'all, I'm Hope, and today I'm putting together my May TBR. I'm really looking forward to May because, for one thing, I'll be on summer vacation, and while I am still going to be working on my thesis over the summer, I'm anticipating having a lot more free time than I've had in the last couple of months, so I'm really looking forward to that, and I've really been in a reading mood. I'm excited to have more time to read, so I'm really excited for May, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get caught up on my reading goal for the year, because I'm quite behind at the moment. The other thing I'm really excited about is that May the Force Read With You is happening again this year. And if you're unfamiliar with this, this is a readathon that is hosted by Eric over at Break Even Books. He and his partner Marcus put this together, and it is such a cool readathon. I participated last year. It was so much fun. It's all Star Wars themed. I just think it's so much fun. I love Star Wars, and I think they've done a really great job putting together really cool prompts, and there's some really cool graphics they've made. I'm just really excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun again this year. I'm hopeful that it'll help motivate me to read a lot. So for this month, I'm going to be doing the same thing I did for March with the Roll of Reads readathon. And I'm going to be playing TBR Betrayal meets May the Force Read With You, and kind of doing both and trying to mix and match prompts so that I can cover both things, I guess. But yeah, so that's the plan. It's probably going to be a little bit chaotic, but I'm excited, and I cannot wait for May to start. Although at the same time, I can't wait for May to start because I still have a paper I need to write in the meantime. But anyway, let's go find out what the board is going to give me, and then I will talk about what I'm going to read for May the Force Read With You. Okay, as usual, let's find out who we're going to be playing this month. We got a 4. So that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That is Maya from the Goblin Emperor. And his knowledge stat is 4. So I need to have 4 books on my TBR. Alright, so in April we left off at this mood read right here. So let's start rolling for book number 1. As soon as I grab the right dice. That definitely helps. Alright. Roll number 1 is a 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Oops. We've got an item. Let's see what our modifier is going to be. A great first line. That's a really fun one. I'm excited to try that now. See what I can find. Okay. We have roll 2 for book 1 is a 2. And that is going to be an omen. So, grab the Fighty Cat mug of destiny here. Okay, this one seems to want to come out, so we'll go with this. And it's a classic. We got The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. Right off the bat, we got an omen, which I'm not even surprised. I think this happens quite frequently. I get an omen like first thing. But we got The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. This is a kind of a Russian classic, I believe. And I've read a couple of other books by Bulgakov. One of them being a little more realistic. I read one that was called Morphine, I believe, which is about like a doctor who becomes addicted to morphine. And then I read The Heart of a Dog, which I think is more similar in tone to this, because that's kind of a magical realism thing, and that's, I think, what this also is. I don't know very much about this at all. I think there's 2 timelines, one set in Moscow and one set in Jerusalem, and the only other thing I know is that in the Moscow timeline, the setup is that, like, the devil comes to Moscow. That's everything I know about this book. But I'm pretty interested to see what I think of it because I have read and enjoyed other books by this author, so I'm curious to see what I'll think of this kind of longer work because the other 2 I read were both novellas. Now, rolling for book number 2. We got a 4. Oh, wait. Remember this 4, I almost forgot to do the omen roll, or the haunt roll. Give me a second. Where's my d12? There. Okay, so we gotta roll a d12 and make sure we didn't start the haunt. We had 3 omens in play at the end of April, so we now have 4 omens in play. As long as I roll a 4 or above, we're safe. But if I roll under a 4, I have to pick one of these cards. So let's see. Of course we started the haunt. Okay, well this means that the omen goes down to 0, but I do have to add an extra book to my TBR with one of these guys, and I'm kind of scared because it's been a while since I pulled any of these. Okay, feel good about the orange one. Majima Everywhere. I'm gonna have to look that up. What is that? So Majima Everywhere is to read one of the Goodreads Choice Award winners from the previous year. And then I managed to start the haunt, which again, I'm not surprised about this either. I'm, for some reason, really good at rolling low whenever I do haunt rolls. But we got the prompt Majima Everywhere for this additional book that I had to add, and that's to read a book that won the Goodreads Choice Award from the previous year, and I've chosen Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is one of the two that I own, and I am trying to prioritize my own TBR. And the other one that I own was the Second Crescent City book, and I have not read the first one, so I obviously was not going to be reading that. Okay, not so bad. And then, did we remember our 4? We should have remembered our 4, because the next one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, which is another item. Title isn't black or white. So that's going along with a great first line. This basically means that the font on the cover can't be black or white. Okay, continuing to roll for the next book. I've already lost count. This is technically book number 3 now, I guess, out of what's going to be 5. So we got a 3. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, which is an omen, because of course it is. Let's see what we get. Make sure that's on camera. Oh, actually, I'm really happy with this. We got My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, which I've been meaning to read anyway. So that's actually really exciting. So let's do our haunt roll this time before I forget, instead of having to go back to it. We can't actually physically get under 1 here, because I'm not using a dice that has a 0 on it, but we're good. Then we got another omen, and this one was My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. And I cannot complain about getting another omen here because this is a book I've been dying to read. I'm so excited for this one. I've read several other books by Stephen Graham Jones. Loved all of them. I think I've given them all 4.5 or 5 stars. And I'm so excited to pick up this one because I've heard so many good things about it. I was really excited about this when it came out. I actually pre-ordered it and then I never got around to reading it. So this really kind of works out in my favor because I also just got the second book in the series because this is a trilogy. So I'm excited to read this one as well. Okay, so we have what, 1, 2 of our main books. We need 2 more, plus the addition of the haunt one. So now we've got a 3. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. We've got a prompt finally to go with that. Partner pick. Then after that we got some really interesting prompts because we got a bit of a combination. I needed to pick a book that had a great first line and the text on the cover or the font for the title could not be black or white, and then it needed to be a partner pick. So for this, I've picked 5 books off my shelf that I think have a great first line and don't have black or white font, and I read the first line of each of them to my partner, and he picked one, and this is how that went. Alright, so book number 1, and this is the one I'm going to need to censor something in the first line. Of the first few hauntings I investigated with blank, I intend to say little, in part to protect the identity of the victims, in part because of the gruesome nature of the incidents, but mainly because, in a variety of ingenious ways, we succeeded in messing them all up.
Okay.
So that was book number 1. We have book number 2. The dead boy's face was as gray as a cloudy sky moments before a storm.
Okay, that one sounds familiar to something I've read before.
That's fair. I don't think you read this one, but maybe I'm wrong.
You say you would know. This one is definitely one that you would know I have read, so.
That's fair. You have book number 3. Elizabeth Navenby was known for 3 things: needlework, talking to the dead, and an ill temper at the best of times.
It's quite the personality.
Yep. I like that as a description. I think it's fun. All right. Book number 4.
Okay.
The stranger came out of the sea like a water ghost, barefoot and wearing the scars of his journey. And now we have number 5.
Okay.
Kreia always wore her coat with many pockets when she went out to steal bones.
Not the bone stealer.
Not the bone stealer. She's got to wear all her coat with all of her pockets so she can, like, fill her pockets full of bones.
Okay, so I'm torn.
Which ones are you thinking?
I'm thinking either number 5 or number 2.
It's fair.
I want to go with number 2, just because that's the one that reminds me of a book I've read.
All right. Well, would you like to know what you picked?
Sure.
Get it out of the stack here. You have picked The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman.
Okay. I will say that the first line of that reminds me a lot of the first line of The Alienist by Caleb Carr.
That is fair. I had not picked up on that. I have read like the first chapter or two of The Alienist, but
yeah.
Interesting.
So,
okay. One more book, hopefully. So rolling for the last book. We got a 3. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, and it's an Omen because of course it is. I don't think I've ever gotten this many Omens back to back. That's really unusual. Okay. Yep. Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I damn near forgot that last Omen roll, or Haunt roll, I mean. So let's do that last Haunt roll. We have 2 Omens in play now since we had started the Haunt. As long as I don't roll 1, we're okay. We got a 7, we're good to go. And then the last book that we got was another Omen, again, and this one is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. And again, I'm very excited because this is one of my favorite authors. I've just read Persuasion for one of my classes this semester, and I've really been in the mood to like get into some more of her other work. I think I have 3 more that I haven't read. I have this one, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma that I haven't read yet. So I'll be excited to be getting to this one because I just love Jane Austen's writing. Okay, so that's everything for TBR Betrayal, and I actually... Oh my god, my eye's itching. I actually was able to get this to overlap pretty well with the May the Force Read With You prompts, so I think this is going to be a really good month. I am planning to do the light side for this year, because I did the dark side prompts last year, and also I just kind of like the light side prompts better this year. They work a little bit better for the things that I was already interested in reading, so I've gone with the light side, and I am planning to replace a couple of these with neutral prompts. So if you haven't seen this readathon before, there are 5 light side prompts, 5 dark side prompts, and then a list of neutral prompts that can go to either side. And the goal is to like read books to level up through the ranks. And since I'm going to be doing the light side, I'll be doing the like Jedi Order rankings. So the first prompt for the light side is Sever Force, which is to read a nonfiction, but this is one of the 2 I'm replacing, and I'm replacing it with Precognition, which is a prompt where you need to random generate a number between 0 and 3, and whatever number it gives you, you have to read that many books. So I just rolled this a little bit ago. Here's what I got. But I've got my random number generator set from 0 to 3, so let's find out how many books I need to do for this. This is kind of scary, but... I miraculously rolled a 1 because with all the omens and things I was getting, I really was expecting to get like a 3, just because that seemed like the way things were going to go for me this year, you know? But I got 1, and so I've decided to use Mansfield Park for this Precognition prompt because I couldn't get it to fit anything else, but this worked out conveniently that I could use it for this. The next prompt was Jedi Mind Trick, which is to read a book with a cover or a premise similar to a previous book you've read. However, this is the other one I'm replacing, getting both out of the way real quick. And this one I'm replacing with Telekinesis, which says if you are a Jedi, or if you're doing the Jedi path, do a dark side prompt. So from the dark side, this is just kind of hopping across the different columns on the sheet. From the dark side, I've chosen Force Lightning, which is to read a book you're shocked you haven't read yet. And I'm going to be using My Heart as a Chainsaw, because like I said, I pre-ordered it. I've loved everything I've read from Stephen Graham Jones before. And it's really ridiculous that I haven't read this yet, and I'm really surprised because I was so excited about this when I first got it. The next prompt is Plant Surge, read a book with nature on the cover, and I have chosen, as soon as I find it, I've chosen to use Gallant for this because if you can see in the middle here, it's got one of these like dandelions. I don't think they're actually dandelions, but it's those like little kind of puffball flowers that have the little seeds you can like blow off, you make a wish and like blow all the seeds off of them. I don't remember what they're called. I always call them dandelions, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. The next prompt is Force Valor, which is to read a book under 275 pages, and I've chosen Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. This is her newest book. It's a novella that just came out like a week or 2 ago, and I'm so excited to read this. I read the first page when it came in, and I had to put it down because I was in the midst of writing a paper, but I'm really excited about this. This is about a woman who becomes is it a rock writer. Yes, I believe. I keep getting manticores and rocks confused. Anyway, her family is torn apart by, I believe, a manticore attack, and she becomes a rock rider who they train and ride these like gigantic bird-like creatures, and they fight and hunt manticores. I trust Fonda Lee after reading Jade City, and I'm just excited to see what she's going to do with this setting. Then the last light side prompt is Transfer Force, which is to read a borrowed book, and I'm planning to read It's Witchcraft by Colt McCade. This is the 5th book, I think, in the Criminal Intention Season 1 series that I've been reading from them, and I'm really excited for this one because I've been meaning to read it for months, and I keep not finding time for it. But I've been loving the series. It's a romantic suspense crime procedural series set in Baltimore. It's so fucking good. All of the characters are great. The romantic elements are really slow burn, really well done. I just love everything about this series. So then after all of those prompts, there are actually a few other prompts that are additional things you can add for your character. You can add a species for your character, weapons, and then allies. So I've chosen one prompt each for species and weapon, and then I've chosen the 4 allies that I can potentially have. So I've picked something for all of those. So first up is the species prompts. I've chosen to go with the Wookiee prompt, which is to read a historical fiction or book with deckled edges. I'm going to be using the Master Margarita for this because it does in fact have deckled edges. The next thing is the weapon prompt, and I've chosen lightsaber, which is the prompt is to look at a color wheel and find your favorite color and then pick the color opposite of your favorite color and then read a book with that on the cover. And so my favorite color is purple and the opposite of purple is yellow. So I'm going to be reading The Poison Squad by Deborah Bloom because I really don't have very many yellow books to choose from. But this is a nonfiction about, as the subtitle says, one chemist's single-minded crusade for food safety at the turn of the 20th century. This is about this guy who did a bunch of experiments with like a group of people to prove that stuff in American food was harming people and try to get food safety regulations passed. I feel like that sounds like a really boring description, but I've read one other book from this author and her writing is just really engaging, really easy to read. I literally read the other book I read from her, which is The Poisoner's Handbook. I read it in a single car trip. We were driving to visit family. It was like an 11-hour car trip, and I read the whole thing in the car on the way there. It was fantastic. Loved it. And I'm really excited to see what she's going to do with this topic because I think it's like, it sounds boring, but I suspect it's going to be like a really fun read even so. So then for allies, there are 2 allies each for the light side and the dark side, and then there are also 2 neutral allies, which can go for either side. So the first ally prompt for the light side was the Rebel Alliance. This is to read a book with multiple POVs. I'm going to use the Ivory Key because there are 4 siblings and therefore 4 POVs. From at least 3, because I read the first couple of chapters. So I know there's at least 3, but I'm pretty sure they're all 4 POVs in the book. Then the next one was Resistance, and that's to read a book that's mostly one color. I've chosen The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This is a book I need to read for a class I'm taking next semester, next fall. The professor's already posted the books for this class, and there's 11 of them. 6 of them are novels, 5 of them are theory books, so what I've decided to do is try and read as many of those novels over the summer as I can, so that then when I get to the class, I can put some more time into the theory readings and come back and skim these for what I need for the class discussions. So that's kind of the plan there, but this is one of those 6 books that I need to read. I also just don't really know what this book is about. I think it's about, like, the Underground Railroad, but if it was actually a railroad, and that sounds really intriguing, so I think it's going to be an interesting read. Then the first of the 2 neutral allies was Bounty Hunters, and this is to read a book that recently caught your attention. So I've chosen another book from that same class because I had never heard of this until I looked it up for this class, and I think it sounds like it's going to be really cool. And this is The Water Knife by Paolo Bacigalupi, and I just don't know what to expect with this because I've never heard of this before. I do love the cover. I think that's really cool. But this one is like a climate fiction thriller kind of a thing where the main character is a water knife in a world where water has become an extremely rare and valuable resource, and so he cuts water for the Southern Nevada Water Authority, and then he ends up going on this adventure that has something to do with like a mysterious water source that may or may not be there. And so he's going to like hunt it down and see. And I think there ends up being like a bunch of other stuff going on and like some conspiracy stuff and that kind of thing. So I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be really interesting, and I just really don't know what to expect. But I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I'm kind of glad that it got chosen for this class just because I probably would never have heard of it otherwise. And then the very last prompt is droids, and that's to read a book with no people on the cover. That's the very last set of allies, I should say. And I've chosen Spirits Abroad by Zen Cho, which is a fantasy short story collection, and it's got this cool dragon on the cover instead. No people, but a cool dragon. And I think this sounds like it's going to be really interesting. It's a bunch of stories that they're all based in Malaysian mythology and folklore, and they just sound like they're going to be really fun. So all of these, plus one ebook, are all of the books that I am going to try not to drop them. These are all the books I'm going to try and read in May. And it is a pretty big and intimidating stack, but there's at least a few of these I think will go quickly. So I think it is doable if I put in the time. We will see what happens because I'm also working on a draft of my first thesis paper. I'm doing a 2 thesis paper project thing. And so my first paper, I need to have a revision done in middle of May. So we will see. I'm going to try and put in the time because these are all books that I'm really excited about. And I'm so excited for this readathon. I think it's going to be so much fun. So anyway, that is all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, even though it's probably kind of long. But if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I almost forgot what the next part of my outro was. Anyway, I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.